So we're currently on location of Warmley clock tower, so you can't really hear me, but that's what we're going to be painting today. Got this wall to sit on. Warmley clock tower and former PLEIN factory was built in 1743 and is a Grade 2 listed building. It's where I do the art classes as part of Brown's Art Centre, and I knew of the building before because I do CrossFit on the other side in one of the units in one of the warehouse places. And it's a really amazing building, and I've been wanting to paint it for some time, and it took me a little while to get into the mood of the place, and I did put music on because I needed that tempo, and so I switched to a drawing and then went back to the painting once it was dry, and I just kept building up those layers, trusting myself. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Being on location is always a challenge. I didn't film a lot of the actual gallery space because I was enjoying talking to everyone. It's always helpful to get that emotion across when you're in the place, and I don't really think about technique as such. I'm just responding to the piece, as you will see from how quickly I'm working with the initial sketch, getting it down really quickly, and just going with the beat of the music, which was quite quick. And I do work quickly now because I'm responding to what I see. I'm not thinking about the overall image, I'm just copying in the creative lens and what I see and then building up. I'd love to get to the point where I can paint confidently with watercolor and build up the layers on location, but I'm just not there yet. I like working with pen and ink, which is very quick, and then going in with either pencils or colour. And I do have more trips planned in the next few weeks, so I'll have a lot of plein air painting videos out then. And there wasn't really anywhere to sit because I remember the wall being closer to the actual building, but I found this spot just behind the wall, a little bit patch of grass, very soaked and covered in grass stains at the end of it. But just really relaxing and just talking to people as they went in, and a few people gave me nice smiles and nods, and some people talked about the art and stuff. So I never really had that interaction, but because I was at the entrance of the car park, a lot of people did acknowledge I was there. I've got a great photo which I'm going to be adding more depth into this piece at another time, but there's something about being on location that you can't really beat. And I say I don't really think about anything when painting, but I was just really sort of drawn to this piece to create an artwork, and I was just thinking about how it made me feel in terms of being an old building of history, as well as the wonderful community I've got to know through the art classes, and how this is a real hub for the community, and I'm very lucky to be living so close to it and to be among amazing artists who attend. And when you're painting on location, or any painting for that matter, it is trusting the process. So when I first finished, I thought there's not really much to it, but I then started just building and adding little bits and darkening and thickening lines, and you just keep adding and feeding it out, and I find it very difficult to explain what it is that I do. And it's the same with the thumbnails. Having a thumbnail and title to sum up a whole video is very difficult, and trying to sum up the way you work when it's very intuitive and subconscious is very difficult. But I do want to create more like stories and try and get better at unlocking what that is in my mind. And I just made the effort to be there early, to have a couple of hours just to paint, and the main one was painted in just over an hour, although I felt like I was rushing to start with because I didn't think that was going to be long enough. But I must trust myself at how quickly I do work now, and yeah, just wonderful to be amongst the landscape and see people going by. And yeah, there's a lot of wildlife and grass and little flowers around, so just wasn't really looking too much, was just getting the feel of it, wasn't really looking at every little detail, but just trying to find a shortcut in order to get it down on page. And I guess I have a shorthand on how I paint grass, how I paint this, but I'm still looking at the sort of formation of the grass, but not looking at every little detail, every strand, because that that could, for most people, overwhelm you, and I know it would overwhelm me. So I'm just finding a way to simplify what I see, and that's what I do in all my paintings, but especially with landscapes, especially with architecture, I simplify it down to its roots. And I was just thinking how lucky I am to have art as a practice to go back to fall back on, to have that relaxed inner connection with the creative. And I'm amazed at how often I paint and how I'm not afraid of the blank page, and it's just an obsession that I have to paint, that I have to connect to the world. And I don't always have ideas, but I always have working on location to fall back on, to always have something to paint. And there's an amazing world out there, and I want to try and capture it in my unique, creative way, the best way I can. It's difficult to explain what I'm doing, but I'm just looking and responding to what's there and creating a shorthand, a visual shorthand. The colours of the layers often interact with one another, and I love playing around with different textures, with colour pencils, and in this case, different colour greens, and just layering it up, because those colours will show through the layers. They will change the way the painting works depending on what colours are underneath, and you do get a feel for that in the end. It's just trial and error and practice and looking up what other people have done and reading a lot, watching YouTube videos and figuring out how it's done to sum up the feel of the place and to have that memory. But rather than go around in circles, I'll leave you with the music and the imagery. If you have any questions, do say so in the comments. I would love to expand this conversation. And if you haven't already, subscribe and like, because it does help the channel. And I'd love to see you more in the comments. I love building a community and seeing familiar faces and build the conversation and expand it beyond the video. A little plein air urban sketching outing, and I hope you enjoyed coming along with me, seeing this Bristol, UK Grade 2 listed building, which I'm very lucky to live next to.